Okay, so yeah, a little 1.1 Mymathlab homework. So I might have to read this to you. It might be a little tough to see. But this is just the first question. But it looks like I got a table of x and y values. They tell me that. They call y f of x. And what do they ask me? Is -8 an input or an output? It looks like -8 is an input. Wow, that was easy. I don't think I'll even type that in. Is f of -8 an input or an output? And so anyway, when you see f of -8, f of -8 is the y value, and that's the output. The -8 is the input. The f of -8 is the output. Yeah. I guess I could answer these, but I'm confident. State the domain and range. Yeah, that's kind of weird. What do you think the domain would be?
-10, -8, -6.
Okay,
8.
thank you. He's right. A little list. He's a list or a set that has those specific items in there. And I don't think you really want to say, you don't want to say -10 to 28. Because that implies you got all the fractions in between there. And we really don't. For this function, it looks like it's those discrete numbers. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So I suppose you make a little set and write a list of 7 numbers. You following me? The domain is the list of possible x values. I mean, again, this goes back a week or two. We haven't, it's not the hardest stuff in the world. You've probably already worked on this, I hope. The range, I guess, would be a list of those y values. Just a list of those y values. Explain why this is a function. Y as a function of x. What would you explain to say it's a function? Apparently it is a function. What would you say to explain that it is? Every input has one output. That's a good phrase. That's the phrase that makes it a function, yeah. Well, anyway, that was too easy maybe. Do you want me to clarify any of that? Or help you type any of that in? Or I'm going to call that an input. I'm going to call that an output. So, this is what we just discussed. The domain is, oh good, they give me a little set. I could type all those set, use commas to separate. Yeah, it's a finite set of elements. Oh good, yeah, that's what it is. It's a finite set of elements and I should list it. As opposed to an interval. It's not an interval. Yeah, good. They're pretty smart, boy. They wrote a good question here. I mean, that's discussing the issues we're discussing. Okay, I'm gonna abandon this question. How do I do that? Can I go to the next question?
Hit the arrow.
You have not completed this question. Are you sure you want to leave? Yep, I do. All right, good. Here's the next question. And maybe I don't need to hit all these. Did you have any requests in 1.1? There were 17 questions there. Did you write down any specific ones that are bothering you, or do you know? No? Okay. What's this? What does this say? Use the given table. Use it to find these outputs. Find these y values. What's f of -8?
7.
7. F of -8 is 7. What's f of 21? 15. You guys all right? Easy stuff. I don't even know if this will make the test. Maybe it's too darn easy. I'm moving on. Hey, this might be decent. Let's check this out a second. For each of the functions, find f of 0. Now there are 3 different functions. I think I got 3 different functions. I think I got 3 different answers. It's not meant to be the same function. And so for the first function, it's a chart again. We've been looking at a couple of charts. F of 0 is 7. I think for the next function, it's a little equation. Can you tell me what f of 0 is for the next, we'll put a 7 for that one. What'd you say? For part B, what's f of 0? I think you plug in a 0. By the way, they didn't use f of x notation. They called it y. Then they asked me for f of 0. That's okay, I guess. I would have preferred they use f of x notation if they're going to ask me that question, but that's okay. It means the same thing. It means when x is 0, please plug in a 0 and find the y value, and the answer is 9. Very easy. What about the third one? Staring at this graph, can you find f of 0? I think this is the one that would get some people. You guys are probably experts. Oops. I'm answering that one. That's a 9. Yeah, what about from the graph? From the graph, I mean, you know, in a chart, I see x's and y's. In an equation, I know how to plug in x's and get y's. And from a graph, I see x's and y's. The x's live here and the y's live here. When x is 0, can I identify the y value? If I'm real careful, I would think it's maybe that y value. I mean, it's kind of a fuzzy little picture there, but I think it's 1. The y value looks like 1 to me. By the way, when you pull up these problems, they're not always the same equations or same pictures, are they? I mean, this one thing cool about the computerized homework is it generates new questions, similar questions, new numbers, different pictures, but real similar questions. Cool, we did good on that. Same question, really. Use this graph to find f of -1 from a picture. From a picture, can you find the y value? If x is -1, can you find the y value? If x is -1, I think it's that y value, which, what would you call that?
-1.
I'd call it -1. Oops, 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 oops. Oh, f of 2. Can you tell me f of 2, please? Again,
6.
again, you're staring at a rough little picture. I mean, anyway, right. 50 feet away, can you tell me f of 2, please? Well, when x is 2, what's the y value? Maybe there, which might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So each red said 6, he was a little off. Looks like 5. Just gotta, just write all over your computer. It's okay. At home when you're, just put a big dot on your computer screen, like I am. That's too easy. Shout out the answer, please.
12.
12, thank you. Too easy. Thank you. You plugged it in for x. Thank you. The domain and range of this. Is it a function? First of all, they are asking, is it a function? Is y a function of x? Is it?
Yes.
Every x has one y. I guess so. There's no repeated x's. There's no, yeah, looks like a function to me. How would it not be a function? Maybe this 3 shows up again and it has a different y value, like a 7 or something like that, you know? And now, or an 8 or something, I mean, it's now those 2 3s, which is one input, has 2 outputs, right? That would not be a function. I guess this one is. And then I could tell it the domain and range, which would simply be a list again. You guys with me? All right, let's get out of here. This is getting boring. Hey, is that a function?
No.
No, it fails the vertical line test. This homework is fun. Oh, hang on a second. Is this graph a function?
Yes.
This one. This one is. Yeah, this one is. It passes the vertical line test. Yep. Any vertical. What about this? Is this a function? This is wild. And it's not a connected graph. It's just a bunch of points. You know, I could make myself a chart, but I don't really want to do this. But I could list the x values there, and I could list the y values there. But I can see it better. Really, I don't need a chart. I can really see it better like this. When I see these points, I can definitely see that this one x right here, this x equals 4, has 2 different y's. So the answer is no, and they do want me to explain it. See, I don't know if you've done this homework, you've noticed this, but the answer is going to be no, and it's because one value of x, the 4, they want you to say the 4, has 2 different y values, right? So not only do they want you to just click yes or no, but they do want you to fill in a little explanation there. You guys with me, right? Is this fun doing homework together?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there's these questions. What's the, which of these are a function? A is? Every input has one output. Every input has one output. Every input has one output. Yeah, there's a shared output, but that's okay. This 8 has 2 outputs. See that? That 8, it's kind of tricky to, those arrows, I gotta look at those arrows close. But anyway, yeah, that 8 has 2 outputs, so he's not a function, and he is a function. Yeah, you're right. You're right, you're right, you're right. This is fun, doing homework, I'm skipping over some of these, I'm not doing all of these. This might be a good one. Yeah, this might be a good one. This kind of stuff shows up on my quiz. I like some of these questions better than others, but I did pick and choose all these for you. Yeah, there's a function, I guess. You can see the little dots where it stops and starts, and they would like to know the domain, and they want me to use interval notation. Can you tell me the domain, which are the x values? Yeah, I guess I got to pay attention to these. Yeah, these are marked in 4s, and you're calling that a -20. Okay, thank you. -20 on the x. That's the furthest left it gets, and it goes all the way over to 16. Yeah, that's the left and right. The furthest left and right is my domain. And this would be an interval. It'd be all those numbers from -20 to 16. And the range would be the lowest one, please, the lowest number. -6 up to 1. He's calling that a 1. That's the highest it gets. Okay. The range is the y values, the lowest and highest it gets, and it does reach those places. It does, so they are included. It looks like it gets to those values, so we include them with the bracket. This is fun doing homework in 1.1. Yeah, I might skip that one unless you want me to. I think I'm skipping it. Unless you wanted help with it. Did you want help with it? Why do I want to skip it? Why is my first tendency to skip it? Too much reading. I don't want to read all that. That's probably your first instinct too. Well, but you got to, right? It's good to practice reading. I guess I shouldn't skip it. That's a bad example. Determine whether this is a function. If so, identify the independent variable and dependent variable. You know what? That's some language I never used. No, maybe I shouldn't skip this. It turns out, you guys, that usually the input is the independent variable, or the input is the independent variable. Maybe I shouldn't even call it x, but usually we call it x. And the y is the dependent variable, or the output variable. I have used input and output, but I never use these words. It's kind of like x, when I build my chart, I get to let x be whatever it wants. So it's independent. It gets to be whatever it wants. And then y depends on what I plug in for x. Y is dependent upon what I plug in for x. So identify those variables and why the relationship is a function. The average income of male workers after X years of education. Wow, that's good to know. 5+ years of education, you got an average income. Okay. 4 years of education, you got it. Yeah. 1 to 3 years of education. Huh. I think I got, I guess you could call that an X value, one X value, one Y value, one X value, one Y value. Are you with me? And so it is a function. Although 1 to 3 years of high school, I mean, you could almost call that 2 or 3 or 4 X values. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of a lawyer. You understand my argument? I don't think I want to make that argument. I don't think they're trying to be tricky. But 1 to 3 years of high school is technically sort of more than one X value. It's 1 year of high school, 2 years of high school, 3 years of high school, all fit there into that thing. But maybe they're lumping it together and calling it one X value. That seems to be what they're doing. Looks like 1X gives 1Y. It's an average. There is one average income for each input X. I guess so. The independent variable is X. The dependent variable is N. What's N? Oh, N. They're calling this N. Okay. The average income. They're calling N. You know what? I just totally misspoke, actually. I don't know if you caught me. You didn't catch me. Maybe you did. This little argument I was making about being 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, that actually wouldn't make it not a function. That's the same X going to the same Y. I mean, that's different X's going to the same Y. That's not 2 different X's. I mean, that's not 1X going to 2 different Y's. Sorry. Hard to talk about. Yeah. So even if I would have been picky about this thing, that wouldn't make it not a function. This is a function, right? Sorry about that. I think that's what I'm saying. Good job. Yeah, this is good stuff. That's probably a function. I could just see its equation, and this is good stuff. You know, when I started discussing lines and linear functions, I went to some word problems, and this is a typical word problem. I kind of made up one like this the other day in class. The property starts at that value, it depreciates so much per year. How much is it depreciating per year? Looks like 10,000. It starts at that value, it loses 10,000 every year. This is a nice linear function, but is it a function? Yes, I think so. If it's a line, yeah. I'm going to move on. 14, that might be good. That might be good. A lot of reading, a lot of word problem. That's ridiculous. You know, when I was a kid, I mean, we never had car payments that were $1,200 a month. Is that what this is? A couple wants to buy a $40,000 car, and you borrow money at 5%, paying it off in 3, 4, or 5 years. Wow, right? Cars are expensive. I think nowadays they'll let you do 6 or 7 or 8 years. I don't know, to get your payment lower because. Yeah, if you're going to pay this off in 3 years, there's your monthly payment. Wow. The sooner you pay it off, you save on interest. Look, this total cost is a little more when you pay longer time and you pay more interest. But you get a cheaper payment. Maybe you can not get it repossessed. What's the question? If the car is financed over 3 years, the payment is blank. Yeah, I guess I could just fill that in from the chart. If the car is financed over 3 years, the total cost is blank. I guess that would be that number from the chart. I don't think I'll bother with that. Is it that easy? You guys okay? I guess it's that easy, just reading that chart. But it is reading. There is some reading required here. So these problems have parts. I'm skipping over some of the parts. I feel like it's easy. Again, you haven't asked me any questions, so I'm just talking. I kind of like that one. You want me to do that one? I do like this one. Suppose a ball is thrown into the air and its height is given by this function. We'll study this again more up in chapter 3. Notice it's got that t squared on there, so it's not a line. We'll get back to that in chapter 3. But it's the height of a ball if you throw it up in the air. Find h of 1 and tell me what it means. Yeah, that's good. I like this question. Not only, see, I like when it says explain what it means. I might do that to you on a quiz or test. First of all, what is h of 1? Everybody knows that just means plug in a 1, of course. We've been doing that all day. You plug in a 1, you do a little math. I could use 12 plus 96 minus 16. 12 plus 96 minus 16. That's what happens when you plug in a 1. The answer is 92. And it's 92 feet, I think. They told me that, the height is in feet. I'm plugging in 1 second is what I'm plugging in. See, when they ask me what does this mean, what really helps me is the units. I mean, the units help me a lot. So I think about the 1 as being 1 second. I think about the answer 92 as being 92 feet. And maybe I can write what this means. And what does it mean? Can you tell me?
After it's being just 92 feet.
After you threw it, or after, 1 second after you threw it. After it's been in the air 1 second, it's at a height of 92 feet. Yeah. And let me just ask you this. Where did it start? And that's kind of a funny question. Where did it start? But what would you do for that question, you think?
Plug in 0.
Good. Plug in a 0. Yeah. And if I did plug in a 0, let's just check it out. What would I get? If you plug that 0, that's 0, I think I get 12, right? So anyway, I think it started at 12 feet. I don't know, I'm up on top of the house or something. It started at 12 feet, I threw it up, and after 1 second, it's already at 92 feet. Wow. I threw it pretty fast, I think. Okay. Find the height of the ball after, let me just try to answer this question. So, the answer is 92. Good. They didn't even make it. What is the meaning? Okay, thankfully they're nice enough to make it multiple choice here, and we got it. 1 second after being thrown, the ball is, 92 feet above the ground. Right, that's it. Find the height after 3 seconds. Anybody do that? 156. Thank you. I'll trust you. 156. When does the ball stop climbing? Select the correct choice below, and if necessary, fill in the answer to complete your choice. The ball does not stop climbing. The ball stops climbing at blank seconds. That's pretty interesting. Did you guys answer this question? Anybody do this homework?
5 seconds.
3 seconds.
Oh, you think it's the 3 seconds? And how do you know that? Huh. Let me just see something.
You find forward, then it's lower.
So so we plugged in 0, we got 12. We plugged in 1, we got 92. We plugged in 3, we got 156. Let me try 4. And that means you got to do it, or or I gotta do it. You plug in a 4, you pick up your calculator, you do the work. It takes some work with these little guys. 4 squared times 16, 4 times that. Watch your plus and minus signs. Can you tell me? And then I want you to plug in 5, and then I want you to plug in 6, maybe. I need some help, please. Please help me. Please help me. What'd you say?
140.
For which one? For 4, it's a 140?
Yeah, it's 140.
Really? Okay. Good. What about 2? Now I'm curious about 2. What if you plug in 2? 140. Oh, that's 140. All right, that does help me. Yeah, so now I see it. He's right. It looks like that's probably the peak. Based on this chart, that's probably where it got to that height, and then gravity made it fall back down. We'll study these problems in a little more detail later, but that's what's happening. I threw it up, it got to a certain maximum height, and it fell back down to Earth. And I guess I can see it if I see a little chart. The truth is, maybe it's 3.1 or 3.2, or who knows? Who says it's exactly 3? But due to this symmetry here, due to the one, I think it is 3. I think it is exactly 3. Huh. Okay, so he was right. My brain was thinking it was 4 for some reason. That was kind of a weird problem. I mean, I haven't really taught you that, so you were just supposed to investigate the hell out of that function and see what you could come up with. There's this interactive stuff. What is this? Click to, you launch this interactive figure, and what do? There are 4 functions, starting with function 1. Check both the domain and range.
You're going to find domain.
So, the domain. The domain is, from this, what is the domain of this function? So, what do I do? What am I doing, you guys? Help me out? Do I?
That's the domain.
That's it, that's the domain.
Oh, it says it over here.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. My little slider helped me get that answer, huh? Let me do this. What about the range? So right now the range is,
Stop at 4. Keep going.
yeah, I see what you mean. So I should go up to 4, I should stop, and then I should go,
I think you just stop at 4 and that's it.
So now what do I do? You gotta help me with this homework.
And then you type it in the homework itself.
Oh, part 1, what's the domain of this function? So I gotta go over here and type it in. Oh, I looked at the picture. I got you. Is that what I'm doing? Type your answer in interval notation. How do I type in negative infinity?
Negative infinity.
There it is, huh? Negative infinity. Oops. Comma. And then just infinity should work, and then another parenthesis, and that should work, huh? Good, fantastic. Okay, thank you guys for your help. See, sometimes you have to help me with the homework. And we said the range was negative infinity up to 4, huh? And that's how you type it. You go from lower number to higher number. So it was from negative infinity. I could go back to the picture, but it was from negative infinity up to 4, right? I thought I was using the interactive thing to
And
answer
then you
it.
get even bracket.
Oh, do you think I should include that 4? Right. Should I include that 4? I think it did, don't you think? Which means I used the bracket. Oops, that's not the bracket. Woohoo! Man, I'm doing good. There's another one. Wait a minute, I thought that guy had 4. Hang on a second. Well, that was it? There's another one. There's another one. I don't have to do all these.
No. Pick one
I'll pick another. Wow, some of these are tough. What is his domain? This is tough. I don't think I'll. Jesus. Yeah, I haven't. Right. This. I mean, the domain. What's the furthest left it gets? It looks like it goes forever, but the truth is this little dashed line, and I haven't taught you about dashed lines, but this dashed line is sort of a barrier here. It's not going to get past this. So I think -8 is the furthest left it gets. What's the furthest right it gets? Well, it does go all the way to 6, but hold on. There's a gap in there. So it goes to 2. Would you include the 2?
Yeah.
Okay. And now there's a little gap. So I'm going to leave out the 2 to 3. I'm going to leave that out of the domain. And then I'm going to say the domain starts at 3. Again, no bracket because it doesn't reach the 3. Comma, and then it goes all the way to 6. And I will include the 6 with a bracket. So there's my domain, and to tell you the truth, it's like 2 separate intervals. And then technically, I haven't taught you this, but then you union these together with a union symbol. That's the technical, complicated answer for this domain. You can understand it after I explain it to you, but I haven't done anything that complicated. And I don't think I will on a test or a quiz. It's worth discussing if you're trying to do some tough homework. Okay, I think I want to quit this. What about 1.2? How do I get there? How do I get there? I just got to go back to assignments. I think 1.2 was pretty easy. Did you have any requests? I'll just grab one. Ooh, that's kind of wild. Complete the table of values and then plot the points on by hand. Yeah, that's kind of a tough one, actually. We were studying lines. I mean, these are, what we're doing in 1.2 is we're just trying to graph, and they exposed me to all kinds of strange functions, maybe, or a few strange. There's only 6 problems. But if I'm plugging in values here, let's do what they want. There's the function. When you got a chart and they say x is -2, you plug in a -2. If you plug in a -2, I think you get -5/4, right? Or 5 over -4, or -5/4, right? A -5/4. You can even make that a decimal. Plug in a -1. I think it's -3 in the denominator, which I would call -5/3. Plug in a 0, I guess you get a -2 in the denominator, -5/2. Plug a 1 in there, and I think you get a -1 in the denominator, which is -5. Plug a 2 in there, please, and what do you get? Yeah, that's undefined. That doesn't happen with a lot of our functions. We get to plug anything we want in, but when we plug a 2 into this function, we get division by 0. 5 divided by 0 is undefined. If you've done this homework, is that what they want? Do they want you to write the word undefined?
They want you to put it in. And underneath the graph, it says type in if functions.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, it's up. We call it undefined, and they give me good directions here. Okay, thank you. Plug in a 3. What happens when you plug in a 3?
5.
5. Plug in a 4.
5.
5 halves. Wow. Wonder if I can try to sketch this graph. All right, so maybe I'm not typing all those in. It did tell me to do that. Can I move to the next section? I gotta check my answer. Maybe I do have to type those in, huh? Oh, and I got to use fractions maybe, or can I use decimals? Oh, it says fractions. I don't think they even want me to use decimals, huh? Okay. All right, I'll do this. What did I say it said?
Negative 5.
Negative 5 over 4. Thank you. That was negative 5 over 3. What if I put, I wonder what happens if I put 5 over negative 3. It's the same thing. Negative 5 over 2. I know it's kind of boring to watch me type. Negative 5 n. 5 and a 5 halves. What did you say? Dropbox?
Yes, sir. On the top.
What do you mean the top?
Top, yeah. Right there. No, for the 3 of 6. You can move to different questions in there, can't you?
Oh, I can move to the next question.
I think without answering.
And you're saying maybe I could move to,
I think so.
oh, I can look at, yeah. Yeah, I can move to the next question. I was trying to get to the second part of this question. I thought there was a second part. Maybe, let me see. Oops. Okay, so I got the last one wrong. That's okay.
You need to check it 3 times. Take you to the next one.
Really? I get to check it 3 times. Then they help teach me the answer. That's nice of them. And then, oh, I get to pick a graph. Wow. I wonder which graph that is. Well, now I want to see those values I had. What were those? Help me out, you guys. What were those values?
Negative 5.
When x was, what was it? When x was negative 2, it was negative 5 fourths.
Yeah.
When x was negative 1, it was
Negative 5.
negative 5 thirds. When x was a 0, it was negative 5 halves. I think I'm doing this right. Decimals might help. When x was a 1, what was it when x was a 1?
Negative 5.
It was negative 5. When x was a 2, what was it?
Undefined.
It was undefined. That was that. There was no value there. When there's no value there, I don't know. There's a gap there. And I draw this dashed line for a gap. But anyway, if I connect those points, I'm pretty happy. Let's go over here. When I plugged in a 3, what was it? 5? And when I plugged in a 4, it was 5 halves. Okay. I'm thinking about that picture. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
B.
B. I think B. Wow. Cool. Glad that there's multiple choice. Good. Plot some values here. You can do this, I think. Plug in some numbers here. I think you can do this. Man, this is a really easy question. It's kind of confusing. I mean, it's not confusing, but I wasn't sure what they wanted. You gotta read, you gotta read. I find myself glancing over the reading and then I get confused. You gotta read. The average classroom teacher's salary is this. So this is there's the average salary. And X is the number of years from 1990. So X is the number of years from 1990. That makes me think. When I read that, I gotta think. So what is 1990? X is, if X is the years from 1990, then in 1990, X is 0. Right, I gotta sink that in my brain. So then they say, what X values are from 1990 to 2000? Well, I just said that X is 0 in 1990, so 2000 would be X equals 10. That's the answer, right? Real easy actually. But again, read. I gotta read it. What output corresponds to the input for 1990? So again, what's the Y value at 1990? What is the Y value for 1990? And that means plug in a 0. And that's real easy to do. It's that number. When you plug in a 0, it's that number. Right. 32,904.42. 32,904.42. All right. What output corresponds to 2,000? Okay, that means plug in a 10. I'm just going to plug in a 10 and add it together. Anybody got an answer?
3241.
I plug in a 10 for X. I'm multiplying by 10. Then I'm adding that together. I need a calculator. I need a little help.
42,755.02.
Wow, thank you very much. I appreciate that help. Good job. Sketch a little graph, huh? And they talk about a viewing window and so forth. You know, this is where actually, you know, starting thinking about lines, this is in 1.2. I kind of taught you lines in 1.3. By the way, this is also, you see this little GC means it might indicate you should have a graphing calculator, but I've told you don't. And so far we're doing fine without one. We need a calculator though. We sure needed a calculator for those first couple questions. But now we don't need a graphing calculator. Let's think about this. What's the y-intercept? What's the y-intercept? I got to think about lines. What's the y-intercept? Or the starting value, you could say? The 32,000. Look at one of these. Which one looks like 32? Okay, both those kind of do. Not really that one. Not really that one, right? Right? So these look like they might be roughly about 32,000 if it's to scale like it should be. And then they're both increasing. In fact, they look the same, don't they? That's kind of... Choose the correct graph below. That's kind of interesting. They both have, hey, they have this positive slope. They should be increasing slightly. They are increasing slightly. Maybe I should zoom in.
A is 50,000 and B is 5,000.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, look at that. My eyes are bad. Yeah, that's the misleading thing. Thank you. So it's not B. Thank you. It's A. Yeah, thank you. I didn't see that for real. That's terrible. Again, I'm not reading too well. Okay, good. All right, I want to do a little more homework. I'm going to move into 1.3. Maybe that's better stuff. That's lines. Really, the good stuff might be up in 1.4, but we've sort of barely talked about that. So I want to go to 1.3. I'm going to hit pause, though, and miss you here for 2 minutes. I'll be right back.